You like to think you're in control, rational, calm, making decisions with your big advanced brain. But underneath all of that, running quietly in the background right now is a much older operating system. One built over hundreds of thousands of years for a world that no longer exists. Most of the time it just makes you crave sugar or hate small talk. But some of these ancient instincts aren't just annoying, they're dangerous. They've started wars, ended friendships, and gotten people killed, and you're still running every single one of them today. Let's count down the 6 most dangerous instincts still hiding inside your brain. Number 6, tribal loyalty. Thousands of years ago, your survival depended entirely on your group. If your tribe went to war with the tribe over the hill, you didn't get to sit it out and stay neutral. Neutral people didn't get protected when the raid happened, so your brain evolved a hard, fast rule. Us, good. Them, dangerous. This wasn't really about hating outsiders specifically. It was about survival math. A tribe where everyone instantly banded together against outsiders simply out-competed a tribe full of individuals who stayed logical and impartial about every new group they met. And this instinct never got the update. Put you in a stadium wearing the wrong team's jersey and watch grown adults get genuinely furious at total strangers for no measurable reason. Put you in an online comment section and watch how fast you decide someone with a different opinion isn't just wrong, they're the enemy. Studies on group psychology have found that people will assign themselves to a team based on something as meaningless as a coin flip, and within minutes start favoring their own team and being harsher toward the other one. Your brain doesn't need a real threat to activate tribal loyalty. It just needs 2 groups and a reason to pick a side, and in a world of politics, nationalities, and internet fandoms, that instinct has never had more fuel to work with. Number 5, jealousy and mate guarding. In ancient times, losing your partner to someone else wasn't just heartbreak. It could mean losing your ability to pass on your genes at all, and in some cases, losing protection and resources for your children entirely. So your brain built an extremely aggressive alarm system around romantic jealousy. The moment it senses a rival, even an imagined one, it floods your body with anxiety, anger, and an intense urge to control the situation. This instinct kept ancient relationships intact long enough to raise offspring successfully. But today, this same wiring is responsible for an enormous amount of very real damage. Obsessively checking a partner's phone, explosive arguments over nothing more than someone liking a photo. In its most extreme and dangerous form, this instinct is directly linked to controlling behavior and even violence in relationships. Researchers studying domestic violence have found that jealousy is one of the most consistently cited triggers across cultures and time periods. Your ancient brain isn't measuring whether a threat to your relationship is real. It's just measuring whether it feels real, and it will act first and ask questions later. Number 4, revenge seeking. Ancient human groups had no police, no courts, and no justice system. If somebody wronged you and got away with it completely, other people would learn that you were an easy target and you'd keep getting exploited. So evolution built something into you that feels deeply, viscerally satisfying. The drive to make sure wrongdoers pay, even when it costs you something to make that happen. Economists have actually tested this directly. In games where one person can punish another for being unfair, even at a real cost to themselves, people consistently choose to punish anyway. Getting even feels good. Brain scans show that planning revenge actually activates the same reward centers as anticipating a treat. This instinct kept ancient cooperation alive by making cheating expensive. But in the modern world, this same drive fuels road rage, workplace sabotage, escalating family feuds that last decades, and cycles of retaliation between groups and even entire nations that spiral completely out of proportion to the original offense. Your brain doesn't have a built-in calculator for whether revenge is actually worth the cost. It just knows that getting even feels like justice, and that feeling can be dangerously persuasive. Number 3, panic contagion. Imagine you're standing in an ancient camp and suddenly everyone around you starts sprinting. You don't stop to gather information. You don't ask what's happening. You run too, immediately. Because in a world of real predators, the group members who hesitated to ask questions during a stampede usually didn't survive long enough to reproduce. Fear spreads through groups of humans almost instantly, and it's contagious in a very literal neurological sense. Just seeing someone else's frightened expression can trigger activation in your own amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, before you've processed any actual danger yourself. This instinct is incredibly useful when there's an actual fire in a crowded room. It is disastrous almost everywhere else. Financial markets crash harder and faster than any underlying economic reason can explain, because panic among investors spreads investor to investor like a wildfire. Stampedes at concerts and sporting events have killed people, not because of any real external threat, but because the panic itself became the danger. Misinformation spreads online exactly the same way fear spread through an ancient camp, person to person, faster than anyone can verify if it's actually true. Your brain trusts the herd's fear more than it trusts your own eyes, and that trust can turn a false alarm into a real tragedy. Number 2, in-group loyalty overriding morality. This one is closely related to tribal loyalty, but it's darker and arguably more dangerous. Ancient survival didn't just require picking a side. It required staying loyal to your group even when your group did something you personally found troubling, because a tribe that punished its own members for stepping out of line in front of outsiders looked weak, and weak tribes got conquered. So your brain developed a powerful pull toward protecting your own group's reputation, even at the expense of the truth. Psychologists have run experiments showing that ordinary people will follow orders from an authority figure that conflict with their own conscience, simply because the social pressure to comply feels stronger than their internal objection. This is the exact mechanism behind bystanders staying silent during obvious wrongdoing, employees covering for a toxic boss, and entire communities protecting one of their own from consequences, purely because loyalty feels safer than standing alone. Historically, this instinct has enabled some of the worst atrocities in human history, carried out by ordinary people who simply couldn't override the pull to stay loyal to their in-group. This isn't a fringe personality flaw. It's a default setting sitting quietly in every single human brain, waiting for the right social pressure to activate it. Number 1, the most dangerous instinct of all, dehumanization under threat. When your ancient brain perceives another group as a serious enough threat to your survival, it has a disturbing trick available. It can stop processing members of that group as fully human. Brain imaging studies have shown that when people view images of groups they consider threatening outsiders, activity actually decreases in the regions of the brain typically associated with social cognition and empathy, the same regions that light up when you think about someone you consider one of your own. In ancient warfare, this made a horrifying kind of sense. It's far easier to kill, exploit, or ignore the suffering of something your brain has stopped registering as a person. Groups that could flip this switch during actual survival conflicts had an advantage over groups that couldn't. But this instinct doesn't need an actual war to activate. Political rhetoric, propaganda, and even everyday tribal language calling outsiders vermin, animals, or a disease can trigger this same neurological shortcut. Once dehumanization sets in, ordinary people become capable of cruelty they'd never commit against someone they saw as fully human. This single instinct sits underneath genocide, slavery, and some of the darkest chapters of human history, and it's not some rare defect found only in monsters. It's a switch built into completely ordinary brains, including yours, waiting for the right conditions to flip it. So here's the uncomfortable truth this whole list adds up to. None of these instincts make you a bad person. They made your ancestors survive long enough for you to exist at all, but you're not living in an ancient camp anymore, and the same wiring that once kept a tribe alive can now start a war, end a relationship, or convince an entire crowd of otherwise decent people to do something they'd never do alone. The instinct never got the update. Awareness is the only patch available, and running that patch is entirely up to you. So the next time you feel that sudden pull, the flash of anger at a stranger online, the urge to get even, the panic in a crowd, the need to protect your side no matter what, pause for just a second before you act on it. That pause is the one tool your ancestors never had, and it might be the only thing standing between an ancient instinct and a very modern consequence.